Didn't want to release this as another video because those never get the same views as the first one, which means people never get closure, but I'm going to do it anyway, so here we go.
Wow. This is 40 is nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Actress Leslie Mann. This is 40.
Closed captioning provided in part by the 2 new Lay's flavors specially made for Western Canadians. Wavy.
Oh, now we're talking. Now we're getting into it here. Here's the regulator board. This provides a minus 30 volts, and there's two. There's an independent minus 30 volts that looks directly to the display here, and then another minus 30 volts for everything else. So the transistor that this goes through on the emitter is where I'm noticing the drop, although the drop seems to be throughout the minus 30 section on here. So first capacitor I pulled out, which is C19, looks like shit. That looks like shit. Let's try a good one. That looks better. I'm just going to replace it anyway. Any bad capacitor that I find in that circuit, I'm going to replace regardless. Oh yeah, she's working. So you'll see, okay, there's no VU meter. Yeah, that's normal, but this channel's muted because there's no signal. So let's hit play. And we have VU meters. And that's on bright. If I put on dim, same thing. If I want to track the hi-fi, there we go, I'm on tracking mode. So I can adjust it. You can see the hi-fi cutting out there. Perfect. Turn it off. Put it on VU. So there's two capacitors along the 30 volt that were very lossy. The capacitance tested fine. I have a capacitance meter that just tests capacitance, and that tests capacitance, and my Fluke tests capacitance, and they all say, hey, you know what, it's fine. It's a 22 and a 47 microfarad, and they both tested just fine. But this little cheapy tester that I've learned to absolutely love, again, you know, it's not a high precision, high quality piece of equipment, but this just gives me the rough ESR and the percent loss, V-loss, which I'm not entirely too sure what that corresponds to, but that does seem to measure basically if it's a leaky capacitor. And yeah, these two were leaky, very. So replacing them. Now, I got this powered on, so I'm going to precariously probe pin 9 on connector 5, which is right in here. Boop. Check that out. Minus 28.3 volts. Perfect. That's the minus 30 independent line going to this VFD on the front. It does seem brighter to me. It's still pretty dim, but it is much brighter and easier to see. I'm going to power off here. So I'm going to call this a win. I'm sure there's probably other capacitors in here that need to be dealt with, but look at this. I'm going to deal with them as they come up. So here is the schematic. This is for an JVC HRD 470, and this is the European E and EG version. Thank you so much to Fivos. He posted a comment, and I think YouTube either deleted or held it because it had a link. But I saw it in my notifications, and all that matters. That's all that matters. So thanks, man. That helped big time because this is very similar. I mean, the value is different. This is a 47 on my model, but overall, this circuit still applies. So this capacitor here and this capacitor here were both very leaky. And now it works just great. So this is the 30 volt independent or minus 30 volt independent line that runs through this extra transistor here, and then this is the direct 30 for the rest of the VCR. So this is the one that was concerning me, although both of these were dropping. This was dropping more, but they were both nasty, which kind of points back here before this transistor. Like if you look at these two, this is staying fairly, this is moving proportionally with this one. So anyway, I suck at explaining stuff, but it doesn't matter because it's working now. Now, of course, looking at the layout of this VCR, it's going to be different for two reasons. It's a JVC. The 470 is different. Even just in terms of functionality, it looks like it's closer to the VR 3300 in that it has audio dub. but it doesn't have a slow tracking control, so I'd say it's in between the Zenith 2300 and 3300. It's also a European model. Controls are different, but overall it's very similar. Like, for example, if I move my thing here, O2, that's the regulator board, that's in the same place, so that was useful. And this right here, let me zoom in, looking through the camera, 1.8. This is that board I was confused about that was attached to the side that said on screen. Now on here it's called VPS, and when I looked at the schematic and the layout of it, it just looks like it's got some communication lines and clock signal and voltage going to it. It doesn't tell me anything. But when I Google VPS recording, apparently this was a thing in Europe. It's called PDC, Program Delivery Controller, VPS Video Program System. And what this does is you set your recording, your timer for a show that's say on 4 to 4:30, and there is a signal embedded within the video, within the channel, like probably in the vertical blanking interval with closed captioning and stuff, that basically communicates if it's going to be delayed and then what time to actually record it at. So let's say there's a football game that's going late. Europeans and Americans can both think of different sports with that. That's cool. But there's a game going late and your show is supposed to be at 7 o'clock. And it ends up getting postponed to say 7:20. There's a signal that gets encoded into the channel to communicate to the VCR, hey, don't start recording yet. I'll let you know, or, just hold off for now. That is really cool. And that's what it seems that board does. Probably based on VPS. I have no idea. But these JVCs don't have that on-screen function that the Zenith has. So yeah, I'm still at a loss to what that is.
Here's something else that'll help you see at a glance what your VCR is doing. This on-screen button. Press it once to call up a variety of computer-like on-screen displays to tell you your VCR's current operating mode, along with time and channel information. These displays can also be called up on the remote. Stay on screen for 5 seconds and then disappear.
Well, at least I know what it is now. And it's what I thought it is. It is for on-screen display. Not programming, just to let you know the status. And I kind of verified, now that I'm actually looking at this, you can see these little shielded video cables. I unplugged one of them while watching a movie, and yeah, sure enough, video goes out and back in. So clearly something's not working. I tried the AV out and the RF modulated out, don't get anything. So something's either not working here or there. Problem is the service manual doesn't go into this because it's for a European JVC model, but at least I know what this does. It does what I thought it did. Displays on screen. That's quite the bodge wire there. Nasty. It almost kind of looks like something leaked here and there was some damage. I wonder if some capacitors were replaced. Yeah, there's a bit of grime there. Yeah, it's probably had some service at one point. Actually, yeah, the more I look at it, that's rusted back there. This whole area was cleaned up and at some point took some damage from a leaking capacitor. I'm gonna give up on the on-screen. I don't really care for it. I don't need it. The thing I cared about the most, the VU meters, that's working. So, I mean, whatever. On-screen display, that's way too modern for me.